sunburn doesn't necessarily lead to skin cancer, which
Right.
seems to be a common belief that it does.
Well, it's true to an extent. So if you do get sunburns, that's worse than if you didn't get sunburns, but you don't have to have a sunburn to induce enough damage to get a skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional thought is that your cumulative lifetime sun exposure and your sun damage over your entire lifetime is what causes what we treat most commonly in my office, which are the actinic keratoses or precancers. They're these little kind of sharp little painful red little papules that you get usually on the temples and stuff. And we freeze those with liquid nitrogen. Sometimes we treat them with a field treatment because if we don't treat those, they all have a risk of turning into a squamous cell carcinoma. Your lifetime exposure of sun is going to increase your risk of developing those lesions.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, if you have brief, intermittent, extreme sun exposure, like blistering sunburns, like I used to get when we used to go to Florida for vacations, coming from Missouri, it wasn't summer until I had a blistering sunburn. Well, that's worse than if if you grew up in Florida and had sun exposure every day, but neither one of them is ideal, if that makes sense.
Is it true that the deadliest skin cancers are not caused by the sun?
That's a little tricky because we think of melanoma as being the worst one, and that's definitely related to sun exposure, but also definitely has a familial genetic component to it too. So you can still get a melanoma and not have any sun exposure. You just kind of were dealt a bad genetic card.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, that one, melanoma and most of the skin cancers that we deal with are directly related to the sun most of the time. Now, if you think about Jimmy Buffett, he died of Merkel cell carcinoma, and that's a completely different beast. That is a bad skin cancer.
So is more skin cancer genetic as opposed to getting it from just staying out in the sun all the time?
From my experience, it's the opposite.